The Galactic Council chamber hummed with nervous energy as delegates from 47 species gathered for the most unusual session in their 10,000-year history. Ambassador Zethkar of the Vorthan Empire adjusted his ceremonial scales, each one etched with the history of countless diplomatic victories. Yet today felt different. Today they weren't discussing trade routes or territorial disputes. They were discussing humanity. "The motion before us," announced Supreme Arbiter Melthana, her crystalline voice echoing through the vast chamber, "concerns the immediate cessation of all hostile actions against the human colonies. The floor recognizes Ambassador Krixtal of the Hegemony." Krixtal rose on his 4 legs, his metallic exoskeleton gleaming under the chamber's bioluminescent lights. "Honored delegates, we gather today because something unprecedented has occurred. For the first time in recorded galactic history, an entire species has simultaneously stopped expressing what we understand to be their primary social indicator of peaceful intent." Murmurs rippled through the assembly. The Threnody delegates clicked their mandibles in confusion, while the gaseous ethereals flickered with uncertain patterns of light. "3 cycles ago," Krixtal continued, "every human being across their 17 colonies simply stopped smiling. Not gradually, not in response to tragedy, but instantaneously. Our xenobiologists initially dismissed it as coincidence, perhaps a cultural shift or religious observance, but the implications run much deeper." The massive holographic display at the center of the chamber activated, showing surveillance footage from various human settlements. The images were unsettling in their uniformity. Humans went about their daily activities with mechanical precision, but their faces remained expressionless. No joy, no sadness, just cold determination. Ambassador Yulneth of the Cascade Territories waved her tentacles dismissively. "Surely this is an overreaction. One species' emotional display hardly warrants this level of concern." "That's where you're wrong," interjected Dr. Vexin, the Council's chief xenopsychologist. His 6 eyes focused independently on different sections of the assembly as he spoke. "Humans are unique among known species in that their facial expressions directly correlate with their combat effectiveness and strategic thinking. Our studies show that when humans smile, they operate at roughly 60% of their potential capabilities. They're relaxed, social, and predictable." He paused, allowing the implications to sink in. "When they stop smiling, behavioral analysis indicates they access cognitive and physical reserves we didn't know they possessed. In our laboratory tests, non-smiling humans demonstrated problem-solving abilities that increased by 300%, reaction times that improved by 40%, and most disturbing of all, their capacity for strategic deception became virtually immeasurable." The chamber fell silent except for the soft humming of the translation matrices working overtime to convey concepts that many species had no equivalent for. Admiral Gorthan of the Stellar Navy leaned forward in his hover throne. "Dr. Vexin, are you suggesting that human emotional expressions serve as some kind of biological limiter?" "That's exactly what I'm suggesting, Admiral. Think about it from an evolutionary perspective. A species that could operate at maximum efficiency constantly would either conquer everything in their path or destroy themselves through resource depletion and internal conflict. The smile appears to be nature's way of keeping humans manageable." Ambassador Zethkar's scales rippled with unease. "But what could cause an entire species to simultaneously abandon this behavioral pattern?" The answer came from an unexpected source. Captain Lin Zhao of the Earth Defense Corps had been standing silently in the designated human observation area. She approached the speaking podium with measured steps, her face bearing the same neutral expression that had become so troubling to the galactic community. "Honorable delegates," she began, her voice carrying no trace of the warmth that humans typically displayed. "You want to know why we stopped smiling? You want to understand what changed?" She activated her personal datapad, and new images appeared on the central display. They showed the mining colony of Kepler 442b, once home to 50,000 human settlers. 6 days ago, the hegemony authorized what they termed a punitive expedition against our mining operations on Kepler 442b. Your military commanders believed that a show of force would convince us to accept lower rates for the rare earth minerals you depend on for your faster-than-light drives. The images shifted to show the aftermath of the attack. Destroyed habitats, scorched earth, and most chilling of all, the perfectly organized rows of human graves. Your forces targeted civilian infrastructure, schools, hospitals, residential areas. When our evacuation ships attempted to rescue non-combatants, they were shot down. 50,000 human beings, including 12,000 children, died in what your military classified as a minor police action. Captain Zhao's expression remained unchanged, but something in her tone made even the most warlike delegates shift uncomfortably in their seats. You made a fundamental error in your calculations. You assumed that because we smiled, because we seemed peaceful and accommodating, that we were weak. You mistook our restraint for inability. You confused our cooperation with submission. She gestured to the display, which now showed real-time feeds from human colonies across the galaxy. Every human being alive witnessed the massacre. Every human being alive understood that we had been showing you mercy for generations, and that mercy was interpreted as weakness. Admiral Gorthan's voice carried a tremor that his translator couldn't quite mask. "Captain, what are your people planning?" For the first time since entering the chamber, Captain Zhao's expression shifted slightly. It wasn't quite a smile, but there was something there, something that made the assembled delegates feel as though they were staring into the depths of space itself. "Planning? We're not planning anything, Admiral. Planning implies future action. What I'm here to tell you is what we've already done." The central display changed again, this time showing star charts with pulsing red indicators scattered throughout known space. While you've been monitoring our facial expressions and debating our emotional states, we've been busy. Every hegemony military installation, every supply depot, every strategic resource point is currently surrounded by human vessels that you didn't know existed. The chamber erupted in chaos. Delegates shouted in their various languages while aides scrambled to confirm what Captain Zhao had just revealed. "Impossible!" Admiral Gorthan roared. "Our sensors would have detected any fleet movement of that magnitude." "Your sensors detect what we want them to detect," Captain Zhao replied calmly. "For 200 years, we've been selling you the technology you use to scan for ships in hyperspace. Did you think we wouldn't build in a few limitations?" Dr. Vexen's 6 eyes widened in realization. The mining equipment, the communication arrays, the navigation systems. How much of galactic infrastructure is built with human technology? "Enough," was Captain Zhao's simple response. Supreme Arbiter Melthana managed to restore order through the chamber's acoustic dampening system. "Captain Zhao, what do your people want? What are your terms?" "Terms?" Captain Zhao seemed genuinely surprised by the question. "Honored Arbiter, I think you misunderstand our purpose here. We're not making demands or issuing ultimatums. We're delivering a notification." She touched her data pad again, and the display showed the hegemony's capital world. Even from orbital distance, the massive human fleet surrounding the planet was clearly visible. "The species responsible for the Kepler 442b massacre will surrender unconditionally within 12 standard hours, or they will cease to exist. Their choice is binary: submit to human justice or face human war. There are no negotiations, no compromises, and no third options." The hegemony delegation began speaking rapidly among themselves, their metallic voices creating a sound like grinding machinery. "And the rest of us?" asked Ambassador Yulneth. "Those who had no part in the attack?" Captain Zhao turned to face the diverse assembly of alien representatives. The rest of you will witness what happens when a species mistakes human kindness for human weakness. You'll learn why we evolved the ability to smile and why we evolved the wisdom to stop smiling when circumstances require it. She began walking toward the chamber's exit, then paused. Oh, and delegates? When this is over, when the hegemony has faced the consequences of their actions, we'll go back to smiling. We'll return to being the cooperative, peaceful species you thought you knew. But the galaxy will remember this day. The galaxy will remember that human smiles are a gift, not a given. And perhaps that memory will prevent future misunderstandings. As Captain Zhao left the chamber, the assembled delegates sat in stunned silence. The implications of what they had just learned would reshape galactic politics for centuries to come. Humanity hadn't just revealed hidden military capabilities. They had revealed that their entire relationship with the galaxy had been built on conscious restraint rather than natural limitation. Outside the chamber, emergency communication channels buzzed with frantic messages as species across the galaxy attempted to contact their homeworlds. The age of human accommodation was ending, and the age of human demonstration was about to begin. In the depths of space, human fleets that had been built in secret over generations began moving toward their targets with the cold precision of a species that had finally stopped pretending to be anything other than what they truly were. The most dangerous predators the galaxy had ever seen, temporarily disguised as its most agreeable neighbors. Admiral Kethvar of the Hegemony Fourth Fleet had commanded warships for over 3 decades. He had led successful campaigns against the rebellious Outer Rim territories, crushed pirate fleets in the neutral zone, and earned decorations for tactical brilliance that filled an entire wall of his command chamber. Nothing in his extensive military career had prepared him for what he was seeing on his tactical displays. "Status report," he demanded, his voice echoing through the bridge of the dreadnought Inevitable Victory. "Sir," his sensor operator replied, mandibles clicking nervously, "we have confirmed visual contact with human vessels on all approach vectors. Current count stands at over 3,000 ships, sir." 3,000? Admiral Kethvar's exoskeleton rattled with disbelief. The humans barely have 300 ships in their entire merchant fleet. Where did they get 3,000 military vessels? Commander Nextall, his chief strategic advisor, approached with data tablets clutched in all 4 hands. "Admiral, we've been analyzing the human ship configurations. They're not using any technology we recognize from our intelligence reports. These vessels appear to be significantly more advanced than anything we believed humans possessed." The main view screen showed the approaching human fleet in detail. The ships were sleek and predatory, their hulls seeming to absorb light rather than reflect it. They moved with a coordination that suggested machine precision, yet somehow maintained an organic fluidity that was deeply unsettling to observe. "Open a communication channel," Admiral Kethvar ordered. "Let's see what they want." The view screen flickered, then displayed the bridge of what appeared to be the human flagship. A woman in an unfamiliar uniform sat in the command chair, her expression as neutral as Captain Zhao's had been during the Galactic Council session. Her nameplate read, Admiral Sarah Chen, Terra Defense Corps. "Admiral Kethvar," she said without preamble. "I am Admiral Chen. You have been given 12 standard hours to surrender your forces unconditionally. 10 hours and 17 minutes remain." Admiral Kethvar drew himself up to his full height, his ceremonial spines extending to display his rank. "Admiral Chen, I am a decorated officer of the Hegemony Navy. We do not surrender to inferior forces regardless of their theatrical presentations." "Inferior forces?" Admiral Chen's expression didn't change, but something in her tone caused an involuntary shiver to run through the Hegemony bridge crew. "Admiral, you are operating under outdated intelligence. Would you like a demonstration of our current capabilities?" Before Admiral Kethvar could respond, his tactical officer's voice cracked with panic. "Sir, energy readings from the human fleet are off the charts. They're charging weapon systems we've never seen before." On the view screen, Admiral Chen remained perfectly still. "Admiral Kethvar, please observe your sensor readings for the asteroid field at coordinates 447 Mark 23. Admiral Kethvar gestured to his sensor operator, who quickly focused their instruments on the designated coordinates. The asteroid field appeared normal on their screens. Thousands of rocky bodies drifting in predictable orbital patterns around a dead star. "I see nothing unusual, Admiral Chen. A standard asteroid field poses no threat to military vessels." "Watch carefully," Admiral Chen replied. On the human ships, weapon ports that hadn't been visible before began to iris open. Energy signatures spiked across the electromagnetic spectrum as systems that defied the hegemony's understanding of physics came online. Then, without warning, beams of coherent energy lanced out from the human fleet toward the distant asteroid field. But these weren't conventional energy weapons. The beams seemed to bend space itself, creating visible distortions in the fabric of reality. The asteroids didn't explode or vaporize, they simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed, not scattered, but completely removed from the universe as if they had never been there at all. "Molecular disintegration on a macro scale," Admiral Chen explained conversationally. "We discovered this technology while mining in your space, actually. Strange what you can accomplish when you're not wasting energy on maintaining social pleasantries." The hegemony bridge fell silent, except for the soft humming of life support systems. Several officers' exoskeletons had lost their natural luster, a biological response to extreme fear. "How?" Admiral Kethvar whispered. "How did we develop this technology? How did we build this fleet? How did we coordinate this operation across 17 different star systems without your intelligence networks detecting anything?" Admiral Chen stood from her command chair. "The answer is surprisingly simple, Admiral. We stopped smiling." She began walking across her bridge, and the camera tracked her movement. "You see, when humans smile, we're expending considerable mental energy on social processing. We're thinking about how our actions affect others, considering multiple perspectives, weighing the emotional impact of our decisions. It's a wonderful trait that has allowed us to build peaceful, cooperative societies." Admiral Chen paused at a console displaying tactical information. "But that social processing uses approximately 37% of our cognitive capacity during waking hours. When we stop engaging in social behavior, when we stop caring about being liked or accepted or understood, that 37% gets redirected to other pursuits." On the hegemony bridge, Commander Nextal made rapid calculations on his data tablet. "Admiral," he whispered urgently, "if their entire species simultaneously increased their cognitive capacity by that magnitude, then they would be capable of scientific and technological advancement at a rate we cannot comprehend," Admiral Kethvar finished. "How long? How long since you stopped smiling?" 6 days, 14 hours and 22 minutes, Admiral Chen replied without hesitation. "In that time, we have solved energy problems that have puzzled our scientists for generations, developed manufacturing processes that can create fleets of starships in a matter of hours, and designed weapons systems that make your most advanced military technology look like stone tools." She returned to her command chair. "But more importantly, Admiral, we have united as a species in a way that we never could while we were concerned with individual happiness and personal relationships. Every human being is now working toward a single goal, ensuring that what happened at Kepler 442b never happens again." Admiral Kethvar felt something he had never experienced in his decades of military service: genuine terror. "What do you want from us?" "Justice," Admiral Chen replied simply. "The officers responsible for ordering the attack on civilian targets will surrender themselves for trial under human law. the hegemony will provide full reparations for the lives lost and the infrastructure destroyed. And most importantly, your species will publicly acknowledge that the massacre was an act of unprovoked aggression against a peaceful people. And if we refuse? Admiral Chen gestured to her tactical display, which showed real-time images of every major hegemony world. Human fleets surrounded each planet, their weapons powered and ready. Then we will demonstrate why evolution gave us the wisdom to smile, Admiral. We will show the galaxy what humans are capable of when we stop caring about being liked and start caring only about being effective. The communication channel went silent for several minutes as Admiral Kethvar consulted with his senior staff. Emergency communications flooded in from Hegemony Command, but the responses were unanimous. Every major military installation was surrounded, every strategic resource point was under human control, and resistance appeared to be impossible. Admiral Chen, Admiral Kethvar finally said, I need to consult with my government before I can agree to these terms. Of course, Admiral Chen replied. You have 9 hours and 43 minutes remaining. However, I should mention that with each passing hour, our engineers complete additional weapon systems that make our previous demonstrations look conservative. Time is not your ally in this situation. The communication channel closed, leaving the Hegemony Bridge in stunned silence. Commander Nexatal approached his admiral with obvious reluctance. Sir, I've been analyzing the tactical situation. Even if we could somehow defeat this human fleet, our intelligence suggests that they have similar forces positioned throughout the galaxy. And if they've truly been advancing their technology at this rate for nearly a week, then they may have capabilities we cannot even imagine, Admiral Kethvar concluded. Commander, in your professional military opinion, do we have any realistic chance of victory? Commander Nextal's mandibles clicked in a pattern that indicated deep uncertainty. Sir, we are not fighting the humans we thought we knew. We are fighting a species that has apparently been restraining itself for centuries. It would be like a child with a wooden stick challenging a trained warrior with modern weapons. Admiral Kethvar looked at the tactical display showing the impossible human fleet surrounding his forces. For the first time in his career, he found himself considering surrender not as a tactical option, but as the only rational choice available. Meanwhile, throughout the galaxy, other species watched the unfolding situation with growing alarm. The humans had revealed capabilities that changed everything about the balance of power in known space. More unsettling than their advanced technology was the cold efficiency with which they wielded it. In communication centers across dozens of worlds, alien governments began drafting emergency protocols for dealing with a species they had completely misunderstood. The age of casual aggression against human interests was ending, replaced by the sobering realization that humanity's peaceful nature had been a choice, not a weakness. And somewhere in the depths of space, Admiral Sarah Chen sat in her command chair, monitoring tactical displays with the same neutral expression that had become the face of human determination. Around her, crew members worked with mechanical precision, each one contributing to a war effort that had united their species in a way that peace never could. The countdown continued, and with each passing minute, the galaxy learned a little more about what humans were truly capable of when they stopped trying to be likable and started trying to be effective. The Galactic Council emergency session convened in the shadow of humanity's ultimatum. Representatives from across known space gathered not to debate policy, but to witness the conclusion of the most significant shift in galactic power in recorded history. The central chamber's holographic displays showed real-time feeds from 17 different star systems, each one showcasing human fleets maintaining perfect formations around strategic targets. Supreme Arbiter. Melthana's crystalline form flickered with patterns of light that indicated deep concern. Delegates, We have received confirmation that the hegemony leadership has agreed to humanity's terms. All responsible officers are being transferred to human custody, reparations are being calculated, and a formal apology is being prepared for galactic broadcast. Ambassador Zethkar of the Vorthon Empire shifted uncomfortably in his hover throne. Arbiter, while we all condemn the unprovoked attack on Kepler 442b, we must address the larger implications of what we've witnessed. Humanity has demonstrated capabilities that fundamentally alter the balance of power in our galaxy. More than that, interjected Dr. Vexen, his 6 eyes focusing on different data streams simultaneously. They've demonstrated the ability to coordinate these capabilities across impossible distances with perfect timing. Our analysis suggests that human communication technology is decades ahead of anything we previously understood. The Chamber's attention focused on the designated human observation area, where Captain Lin Zhao stood with the same neutral expression that had become humanity's diplomatic face. Behind her, a new figure approached the speaker's podium, General Marcus Webb, his uniform bearing insignia that no galactic database could identify. "Honored delegates," General Webb began, his voice carrying the authority of absolute certainty. "I am General Webb of the Terran Strategic Command. I'm here to address your concerns about humanity's recent revelations." He activated a personal device, and the chamber's central display shifted to show a timeline spanning several centuries. For the past 300 years, humanity has been what you might call a sleeper civilization. While we appeared to be struggling with basic interstellar travel and resource management, we were actually conducting the most extensive intelligence-gathering operation in galactic history. The timeline showed key moments in human-alien relations, each one marked with indicators showing information gathered, technology analyzed, and strategic positions established. Every trade agreement, every cultural exchange, every diplomatic mission was also a reconnaissance operation. We studied your technologies, mapped your weaknesses, cataloged your military capabilities, and most importantly, identified the fundamental assumptions that governed your strategic thinking. Ambassador Yulneth of the Cascade Territories waved her tentacles in distress. "General, are you saying that humanity's entire relationship with the galactic community has been based on deception?" "Not deception," General Webb replied calmly. "Intelligence gathering. There's a significant difference. We honored every treaty, fulfilled every trade agreement, and maintained peaceful relations with all species. We simply did so while ensuring that we thoroughly understood the galaxy we were joining." Dr. Vexen leaned forward in his seat. "But the cognitive limitations we observed, the reduced efficiency when humans display emotional expressions, entirely real," General Webb confirmed. "When we smile, when we laugh, when we engage in social bonding, we do operate at reduced cognitive capacity. But we've learned to use that limitation as a strategic advantage. It made us appear harmless while we developed our true capabilities in isolation." The display changed again, showing hidden human installations throughout the galaxy. Research stations disguised as mining operations, military shipyards masquerading as asteroid processing facilities, and communication networks built into the infrastructure of dozens of alien worlds. "The Kepler 442b massacre served as our activation trigger," General Webb continued. "The moment your forces targeted human civilians, every hidden installation, every secret project, every carefully concealed capability came online simultaneously. What you witnessed was not humanity preparing for war. It was humanity revealing that we have been prepared for war for centuries." Admiral Gorthon of the Stellar Navy spoke with obvious difficulty. "General, the technological advances you've demonstrated, the molecular disintegration weapons, the stealth capabilities, the coordination systems, how long have you possessed this technology?" "Some of it we've had for decades," General Webb replied. Some of it was developed in the 6 days since we stopped smiling. But all of it was designed with one purpose: ensuring that humanity would never again be vulnerable to the kind of casual aggression we experienced at Kepler 442b. Supreme Arbiter. Melthana's light patterns shifted to indicate a formal question. General Webb, what are humanity's intentions regarding the galactic community? Do you intend to pursue further military action? For the first time since entering the chamber, General Webb's expression shifted slightly. It wasn't quite a smile, but it carried a hint of the warmth that had once characterized human diplomatic interactions. Arbiter, in approximately 6 hours, the officers responsible for the Kepler 442b massacre will face trial under human law. Once justice has been served and appropriate reparations have been made, humanity will return to its previous relationship with the galaxy. He paused, and when he continued, his tone carried a weight that made even the most experienced diplomats feel like students receiving a fundamental lesson. But that relationship will be built on accurate information rather than misconceptions. Every species in this chamber now understands that human cooperation is a choice, not a necessity. Our peaceful nature is a gift we choose to give, not a weakness you can exploit. The chamber fell silent as delegates absorbed the implications of this statement. The galaxy will remember this day, General Webb continued. You will remember that beneath our smiles, beneath our desire for peaceful coexistence, lies the most effective military force this galaxy has ever seen. You will remember that human kindness comes with human strength backing it. Ambassador Crixtall of the Hegemony delegation, who had remained silent throughout the session, finally spoke. General Webb, the Hegemony acknowledges its error and accepts the consequences. But I must ask, will humanity always hold this demonstration over our heads? Will every future interaction be shadowed by the threat of what we've witnessed? General Webb considered the question carefully. Ambassador, that depends entirely on your future actions. Humanity does not seek to dominate the galaxy. We seek to ensure that what happened at Kepler 442b never happens again, to any species, anywhere. He gestured to the displays showing human fleets throughout known space. These forces will remain active until our analysis confirms that the lesson has been learned. When aggressive species understand that there are consequences for targeting civilians, when military leaders recognize that peaceful peoples are not necessarily defenseless peoples, when the galaxy accepts that diversity includes species capable of devastating retaliation, then we will return to our previous posture. Dr. Vexhin's multiple eyes blinked in sequence as he processed this information. How long do you estimate this educational period will last? That depends on how quickly the galaxy learns, General Webb replied. Some species are already adjusting their military doctrines and diplomatic strategies. Others are still analyzing the tactical displays, trying to understand how we achieved what we've achieved. The faster everyone accepts the new reality, the faster we can return to peaceful cooperation. Captain Zhao stepped forward to join General Webb at the podium. Honored delegates, I want to be clear about something. We don't want to maintain this level of military readiness permanently. The cognitive and emotional costs of operating without social expression are significant. We miss smiling. We miss laughing. We miss the joy of simple human interaction. She looked around the chamber, making eye contact with representatives from dozens of species. But we've learned that sometimes the price of peace is the demonstrated ability to wage war effectively. Sometimes the cost of cooperation is the proven capacity for retaliation. Sometimes the only way to ensure that civilized beings can smile is to show uncivilized beings what happens when the smiling stops. General Webb nodded in agreement. In the coming cycles, humanity will gradually return to our previous emotional expressions and social behaviors. But the galaxy will never again wonder what we're capable of when circumstances require it. He activated his device one final time, and the displays showed human fleets beginning to power down their advanced weapons systems. Not standing down, not retreating, but simply moving from active threat posture to ready standby. "The demonstration is complete," General Webb announced. "The lesson has been delivered, justice will be served, and then, honored delegates, we can all return to the business of building a galaxy where species like the one humanity used to pretend to be can exist safely." As the session concluded and delegates began preparing to return to their homeworlds, the implications of humanity's revelation continued to ripple through galactic society. Trade agreements were being revised, military strategies were being completely reconsidered, and diplomatic protocols were being rewritten to account for a species that had proven themselves to be far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. In the months that followed, historians would mark this day as the end of the old galactic order and the beginning of the new one. Children of dozens of species would grow up learning about the day humans stopped smiling and the terrible, awesome capabilities they revealed when they did. But perhaps most importantly, aggressive species throughout the galaxy would carry forward a simple, sobering truth: that the gentle smile of a human being represents not weakness, but restraint. And restraint, once abandoned, reveals possibilities that no civilized mind wants to contemplate. The day humans ceased grinning had indeed become cosmic lore, a reminder that in a galaxy full of predators and prey, humanity had chosen to be gardeners. But gardeners, when their gardens are threatened, can prove to be the most dangerous predators of all.